Well, world leaders have wrapped up 3 days of talks at the Munich Security Conference. The wars in the Middle East and Ukraine topped the agenda. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy warned waning Western support for Ukraine's fight against Russia is costing lives on the battlefield, and the head of NATO said the conflict has exposed weaknesses in the alliance.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Well, as the conference concluded, DW's Richard Walker told us there was little optimism among delegates at the talks.
Yeah, well, I would say that the mood, as I've been talking to delegates here in the lounges, just as the conference is kind of beginning to break up here on Sunday, and the mood that I've been getting pretty much uniformly from everybody is one of pretty deep gloom, that there is a real concern about the current state of the world, the current multiple crises going on. But it's not a completely uniform picture. Depending on which crisis you're looking at, you have a differing sort of a degree of gloom and one or two kind of glimpses of optimism. So maybe I'll just quickly break it down across a couple of areas, starting with Ukraine, and that is where the gloom is really the deepest of all. There's a sense that there is the kind of almost like a sort of vicious circle of fatigue feeding pessimism, which in turn feeds further fatigue. The knowledge that it's 2 years since this war began. Volodymyr Zelenskyy has been back here in Munich, making a speech, really imploring the international community, of course, primarily the West, not to give up on Ukraine, to keep up the flow of weapons, to step up the type of weapons, longer range weapons, and more ammunition that Ukraine urgently needs. The Europeans saying, okay, we're stepping up our game, particularly the Germans saying they're doing really a lot, but some finger pointing going on among Europeans about who's doing enough, whether countries like France are pulling their weight. And kind of hanging over all of this is the knowledge that Donald Trump could potentially win the US election coming up later this year, and a great fear that he would be inclined, as he's implied on the campaign trail, to do a pretty quick deal with Vladimir Putin that would likely come at the very heavy cost to Ukraine. Added to that, Donald Trump's threats about perhaps not standing by NATO member states if they got attacked by Russia, if he felt they weren't spending enough on NATO. This all adds up to a picture of great anxiety over European security, and not really a kind of a roadmap, a sense of how to get out of this, not really a sense of what a realistic victory for Ukraine could look like. So, okay, that's the bundle of sort of Ukraine and European security. Middle East, of course, the Gaza war is also a major focus, and of course this huge anger about the degree of civilian casualties being experienced at the moment. Western countries still standing by Israel broadly. Of course, there are divisions within Western countries, but leading Western countries such as the US and Germany really sticking by Israel and saying that Israel is of course going back to the terrorist attack of the October the 7th, that Israel has to fight back against that. But there are some glimpses of a possible deal that could be done between Israel, Saudi Arabia, the Palestinians to really reshape the Middle East, but so much could potentially go wrong. So achieving that is really something that you can see it in the distance potentially, but whether the world can get there is very much in question.